Zoom in on the spot where she stands, dropped in the middle of a complex maze, and she'd not planned to take a stand or make a grand gesture against the monster that's standing in front of her, and who has tracked her relentlessly through this toxic place. What a toxic space, toxic waste in the toxic maze, and we join at the moment that they're standing face to face. Small girl up against a Minotaur. Perhaps it's a story that we've all heard before. He's huge and strong and can't be beaten. The beast gets fed and the girl gets eaten. We join at the moment where the plot might change. Use these extremes to proceed to rearrange the stage. There's ways for perpetrators in common dramas, but she needs to do better and she needs to work harder. And the work is hard and it's frustrating because she's trapped in this narrative that he's creating, one where she cannot be much more than an appendage to a splendid man, a footnote in a famous story, plot filler for some hero's glory, maiden sent on a suicide mission to placate this monster for the population, because the legend tells us that the Minotaur likes to snack on maidens, never mentions if they fought back. And the audience think, right, not quite sure, but do you think like the Minotaur's a metaphor? Bit crass, but it's surely for how stories are built from preceding blocks, or the stocks and cocks, or the jocks who rise to the highest jobs and hair. Just a small and northern being trapped by the cracked glass of some fractured ceiling, surrounded by great and inflating cocks, infuriating knocks with their payslips. What's great is we see where she's coming from, possibly even agree where it's going wrong. And now, before she proceeds, she'll pinpoint the message that she perceives we need to see. Wise words we've all heard before. Then she'll shift the focus back to the Minotaur, grab him by the horns, because he's famous, so he matters more. Switch back to the story, get the action on track. Already implied that the maiden will fight back, kick him in the crotch, throw rocks at his head, but the monster's not literal. Rewind instead. And so the maze melts, falls into oblivion. We see the situation she's really been standing in. It's a club. Kitchen, street, and in front of her there's a man who's decided her body is not quite hers, that he's entitled to a grope or a feel, that maidens exist because he needs a meal, but suddenly her hands are around his neck in this uppercut motion that I'd recommend because necks are delicate and monsters are stronger. And this angle works because maidens are shorter, and he'll be so surprised because he's bought the myth that women are gentle and do not behave like this. I'm not saying violence is the only way. I'm just saying that sometimes it's okay. If you've been ignored and you're sure of your cause, then you can slash the paintings, you can wreck the golf course. Because there is this myth that women are passive, built to be inactive, and that myth is toxic. It makes us predictable, easy, dismissive. If we've got our fists up, they can just dismiss it. But here is a woman who's lost in the maze and glared at the Minotaur, dared to take a stand. I'm not suggesting you must be aggressive. I'm just protesting that some beasts deserve it. And that feeling afterwards, totally worth it. The shock on the massive face, shocking because it is surprise that's your greatest weapon. Female aggression's not what they're expecting, but sometimes you need it in this place for your sake. Stick spears out your chariot, you're harder to overtake. Prove that you're strong. Because you do have a say in this. Act unexpectedly, mess up the narrative. These beasts are scary. And our maze is massive, but there is a way out. Fight back. We might find it.